Ladies and gentlemen, we got some very, very risky fights to be betting on this Tuesday. Why? Because we don't know a lot about these guys, okay? I say this every time. We don't know what these guys are going to do, but definitely this week. This week, you got to watch some tape. There's not a lot of tape out of there. I watched the tape because we had no UFC this Saturday. I'm going to give you a breakdown. I'll give you a pick, a little insight onto each and every fighter on this card, but there's a lot of unknowns, boys. A lot of unknowns. Let's take a look at the recap of the Season 8 so far. This is episode number 4. Favorites have been crushing it. Favorites have been absolutely crushing it. They're 12-3. Now, we had 2 dogs come through last week, which was more than any other week, as you can tell by the record. Last week was Bogdan Grad was a very slight dog, and the Pulayev guy, the Russian guy in the main event, was an underdog that cashed. But the favorites have been crushing it. And I want to urge you to look at the lines and really digest and say, is this line worth it? Because if a favorite wins, sure, that looks great. It's a win like last week. Nick Pinichi wins the fight by split decision. Some people think he lost. I would probably say he lost. But he was a minus 475 favorite. Now, if you put a bet in on Nick Piccinini, whether he was in your parlay or you just took him straight up on the money line, minus 475 should not be going to a split decision where he arguably lost. That's a bad bet. That's a bad bet. And if you're one of the guys that were on Jack Duffy as a plus 300 underdog, that's a good bet. Even though it did not cash, that is a good bet because there is an edge there. That's an EV positive bet, okay? So just please caution yourself if you're going to be throwing all these favorites into a parlay. You still got to see some value there. Now, this isn't, all the betting show, but this is some betting insight because I know a lot of people, they just see a winner, minus 475 wins and they're happy, but like in the long run, you're not going to get by on that betting minus 475s and then just barely winning. So keep that in mind. Favorites have been rolling, and we got some big favorites in the lineup this Tuesday. But let's get into the breakdown. First fight of the night, we got Quillan, Salkilld, and Gage Young. Very interesting fight here. I think both guys are pretty solid, and I think this might be the most competitive fight of the night, which seems to be a common theme. First fight of the night's usually like one that people look forward to the most nowadays. For a Contender series, at least. This Salkilld, I don't really know how to say him. I'll just call him Quillan. Quillan? I'll call him Quillan. So Quillan, 6-1. He hasn't lost since his debut. 24 years of age, so both guys are very young. And I think Quillan is going to come into this fight with a grappling-heavy game plan. Not that he can't stand there and kickbox with Gage Young, but I think he's going to have a grappling edge here. He's a grappler by trade, pretty big dude. If you look at, just his 6 foot compared to 5'9" and the way they match up, he's a pretty big lightweight as far as being filled out, physically strong. He can get you down to the ground. Very solid jiu-jitsu, good back takes, and he's dangerous on the mat. On the other side, Gage Young, more of a striker. He does have some offensive wrestling, but the guard game from Quillan is pretty damn good. I think Gage Young, even if he does land a takedown, he's going to be in trouble, or at least he's going to have to react. I don't see him just laying in guard and racking up, control time minutes. I don't see it that way. If the fight hits the ground, he's going to be in some trouble, or he's actually going to have to react to stuff because Quillan's going to be throwing stuff up. Gage Young has had some pretty solid knockouts on the regional scene where he's just touching dudes with a right hand and they go out. So I think he's got some pop in his shots. And his technical striking, I think, is fairly solid. Quillan, on the other hand, I don't think he's the greatest when he's going first, but he actually has some really solid counter strikes. So he'll stand in the pocket, slip a punch, come back with another one. So I think his stand-up is definitely serviceable. He's a favorite here. I think he gets the job done. I think the grappling edge is just a little bit too much. I think he's a lot more skilled on the ground than Gage Young. But I could see Gage Young catching him with something, hurting him, and maybe getting it done that way. But I think overall, Quillan will probably be the minute winner. And if the fight hits the mat, I think he could probably find a submission. So I'll take Quillan Salkilld for the pick. Move on. We got the wild card. I wouldn't even say it's the wild card of the night because we got something crazier later on. But this is a wild card. because we got Yuneissy Duben, who's 4-0. But all 4 of her wins are against 0-0 opponents. So do with that what you will. And I watched a couple of them. I think it was just one, honestly. I think I only found one fight. But the girl that she fought looked like she had only taken like a cardio kickboxing class. Like she didn't know what the hell she was doing. Now, Duben has some pop in her shots, but it's not the most technical striking. I think she just knew she's better than these chicks. She's a strong girl, and she was throwing hard, trying to get him out of there. The corner threw in the towel. Like, she was beating up on her for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then they got back to the point where they're just standing there facing off. The corner just threw in the towel like 2 or 3 minutes into the fight. It was that bad. So her level of competition is terrible. Shannon Clark, on the other hand, MMA Barbie. Generous nickname, I'm not going to lie. But you watch her fights, very solid fighter, but I think it's just based on pure aggression and pure physicality. She's a strong girl. She goes in there. She gets girls into the clinch. She's stronger in those scenarios. She'll beat you up in the clinch. On the feet, her striking is so stiff. Like, the way she throws punches looks like she has never taken a yoga class in her life. Like, she's not flexible at all. And when I say that, I mean it's just so stiff. Like, in boxing, you want to be loose. You want to be loose with your hands. You want to be able to roll with shots. And she's very stiff, very upright. Her chin's kind of in the air. But she gets away with it because it's women's MMA. They're not going to clip you with anything too hard. She gets back into the clinch. She does her work there, takes you to the ground, and just kind of grinds on you. Now, she's older. She's definitely got to get a win here to get into the UFC. 32 years of age. She's not getting any younger. I think she should get this one done because I don't think Yuneissy Duben has seen anything like Shannon Clark. Like, probably not anything close. Shannon Clark's probably seen a Yuneissy Duben before. She's a big favorite. I think she gets it done here. I could see maybe some type of submission, but in all reality, it's probably a decision victory. She had a nasty bulldog choker last time out, which was disgusting. Maybe she does that again. That would be definitely a contract worthy, but I'll take Shannon Clark for the pick nonetheless. She gets this one done. Moving on, we got Austin Bashi and Dorian Ramos. So Ramos taking this fight on short notice. I think this is like the second or third opponent for Bashi, if I remember correctly. Bashi, undefeated guy, 12-0. Very impressive. Only 22, nearly 23. But he's a solid fighter. The only thing that I worry about is the dude's 5'3". The dude's 5'3" at featherweight. And then you think about like a Sean Woodson, who's a featherweight, who's like 6'2". Like, just imagine those two going up against each other. Now, he's only got to take on the 5'7" Dorian Ramos here. So 4 inches in height. Won't be that much of a difference. I mean, 4 inches is a lot, boys. Right? 4 inches is a lot. But that's not really Bashi's game. Now, Bashi wants to get you to the ground. He wants to take you down, beat you up there, or submit you on the ground. Dorian Ramos, on the other hand, decent fighter. I wasn't too impressed watching his tape, but he's a solid boxer. He'll stay in your face. He's tough. And he's got decent cardio. In all reality, I just see Austin Bashi getting this guy to the ground and doing his work there. I could probably see him finding a TKO or submission on the ground. Either round 2 or 3. Just kind of beating him up, grinding him out, getting it done. He's got some good wins on the regional scene as well. I believe he's a favorite here and a pretty sizable one at that. Ramos taking the fight on short notice. If he had like some more knockout power, if you watch this guy fight and he had like, damn, he's got some power, then I would like him a little bit more, but he's more of a volume guy, stick behind the jab. And I just don't really see him doing it to Austin Bashi here. So I'm going to take Austin Bashi for a pick. And I would love to see him in the UFC because he's got a lot of experience and he's still young. So give me Bashi for the pick and we can move on. Let's talk about last week. Let's look at the recap. You know me, I'm always transparent. We lost 0.45 units, so a very, very small loss. We got dumped on that Liam Anderson parlay. So that would have put us in the profit, but he did not look good whatsoever. That right there is a bad bet. That is a bad bet. But we were profitable the 2 weeks before that, so we're destined for a little slight losing week last week. But on the year, We're positive 32.11 units year to date. So if you want all my bets, you get the Dana White Contender Series, you get PFL, you get UFC, and last week we had an LFA play that cashed last Friday. Plus 185 underdog in the main event, round 1 KO. It was nice, it was quick, it was easy. So if you want all these bets, jump in the Home of Fight Picks Premium membership. The Discord link is down below. You'll sign up on Dub Club. You'll get the posts. You'll get the plays that I put in, the plays that I post sent directly to you through the Dub Club app, through email, through Telegram, through Discord. You'll get it there. Jump in there, and you can get all my bets there. So if you want to know my bets, because my picks are going to be a lot different. My bets, if you can see here, I'm not betting on every fight. I'm not betting straight money lines. Betting props, some parlays, some round props. That's where you get the bets. Home of Fight Picks Premium membership. 2 more fights to go. We got Will Currie and Djorden Santos. Very weird spelling of Djorden, but I think it's Djorden. Djorden. The guy looks very interesting. I looked at his Instagram. He looks like he could be like 40 years old, but he's 27. The Brazilian dudes, they must go through puberty at like fucking 16 years old or something. Like, dude looks 40. And if you look at his IG, you would agree. Will Currie, one of these guys that's been on the Cage Warrior scene for a while. Fought Christian Leroy Duncan twice, lost to him twice. I think the first one was like kind of controversial, so he fought him again, lost to him. And he's a solid fighter. If you know me, I'm not the biggest believer in the Cage Warriors guys, because especially if you've been in Cage Warriors for a while. You get a few good ones. You get a Paddy Pimblett, you get an Ian Gary, you get a Conor McGregor. But there's also the ones that come out of there that are just not that good. I don't think Will Currie is going to be a Ian Gary. He's not going to be a Paddy Pimblett. Is he serviceable enough to get the job done here? Maybe. But I watched this guy on film. He's a good grappler. Obviously, he wants to get you down to the ground, uses jiu-jitsu, uses top pressure, uses ground and pound. But on the feet, I think this guy's a liability. Because it's kind of the same with all these grappler types. What do they like to do on the feet? They like to stay at range, use their kicks to keep you at range, and then once you come in range and you want to box with them, then they just level change. So it's a good game plan for Will. The problem is, the guy has no hands. Zero. Like none. Anytime you're throwing hands at him and he can't level change, he just covers up. I'm like, that's not going to get you very far in the UFC. So I don't know that he has a very good UFC career if he gets the job done here. I think he can get the job done here, though. When I look at Djorden Santos, not the biggest knockout power. He does have good takedown defense, which could basically bring him into this fight. If he could stuff takedowns, he's in this fight because he's a decent boxer, solid pressure, solid cardio. He's like an ex-heavyweight. He was a heavyweight, went down to light heavyweight. And honestly, I think he could be a welterweight because even at middleweight, he's still a little soft-bodied. And he's been training with the Bonfim brothers. I see him next to Gabriel Bonfim. And Gabriel Bonfim is a welterweight. He's bigger than Djorden Santos. So fighting at middleweight, I honestly think Djorden Santos could go down another weight if he just shredded a little bit. He's a little soft-bodied. And I just don't think the finishing upside is too high for him here against Will Currie. I think Will Currie, even if he's hurt, should be able to get to a leg and work that way, get him into the clinch. And I think he gets this one done. Is he minus 400 favorite worthy? In my eyes, absolutely not. Almost to the point where I'm thinking about throwing a bet on Djorden Santos just in case, something goes wrong for Will Currie. But Will's one of these guys that has a decent social media following. He's friends with a lot of UFC fighters. I could see the UFC wanting him to win here. Maybe they just gave him a favorable matchup. It doesn't always go the way the UFC wants things to go. So I'll take Will Currie for a pick, but I would not touch minus 400 with a 10 football, honestly. Maybe you could look for Will Currie by sub bet or something if you like him. Maybe I would even play that if it's a decent number, but Will Currie's the pick. Caution yourself. Djorden Santos, not a terrible fighter, but not a great one either. Finally, to the main event, we got Igor Cavalcanti and Seok Hyun Ko. So the big curveball here is that we know Igor Cavalcanti all wins in the first round. I don't know. Never seen a second round. The guy is a question mark because you can't find many fights on the guy. And all the fights that you could find is like 20 seconds. So we don't know what this guy's up to. We don't know. And he's a big favorite here. And the weird thing that jumps off the board to me, so he's 5'11" with a 79.5-inch reach. So a 6-foot reach would be 72 inches. So he's got almost a 6'8" reach with a 5'11" frame. So I think this guy is just built different. Like his body is just built different. I think he's got that Brazilian power. Like he was groomed from the jungles of Brazil type of power. He's got some decent submission skills as well. I think he's got like 3 or 4 round 1 subs. But we just don't know what his cardio looks like. Level of competition is definitely a question mark. On the other side, Seok Hyun Ko, we know a lot more about him. Combat Sambo champion, a South Korean dude who's fought in multiple organizations, a lot of layups, a lot of like journeyman Asian fighters, and then a couple where things didn't go his way. You know, Sasha Palatnikov, he lost to him earlier in his career, but Palatnikov was in the UFC. Got knocked out by another guy that was on road to UFC a few times and lost. Not a good look. The way he fights, doesn't really mix in a ton of wrestling. I mean, he's more of a striker, solid southpaw striker who pops the jab out there, pops the jab out there, pops the jab out there, and then when he feels that the timing is right, he's going to wing an overhand left, and he's going to look to knock you out. Decent body kicks. I think those could come into handy here against Cavalcanti just to try to zap the gas tank a little bit. But he's going to need to cover himself. Like, you know Cavalcanti's going to go in here swinging. He's going to be looking for another first-round finish. That's the only thing he knows how to do. So if Seok Hyun Ko can survive the first round, then things get dicey because you don't know what Cavalcanti looks like. But in all reality, I think Cavalcanti is just a built different type of dude. And I think he gets this one done. I will take him for a pick. But again, minus 335. Probably not something you want to be, laying heavy chalk on with all the unknowns. And considering Seok Hyun Ko, he's a solid fighter. Like, even if he takes a shot, he's a solid fighter. He's Combat Sambo world champion. Solid striking, very good takedown defense. He's a solid fighter. So, honestly, plus 250 underdog. So, looking a little bit intriguing. But I think Cavalcanti is just built different. I will take him for a pick. So I think I just took all favorites again, but it worked out for the week 2 show. Maybe it'll work out again. Appreciate you for watching. Sorry for a little bit of inactivity. I'm moving right now, and I've been packing a bunch. Got to move stuff and all that good stuff, but I'm going to put this video out. I'll be back with the official picks later in the week for the UFC card on Saturday. Best Bet show on Friday. We're back to the normally scheduled program. Appreciate you. Like and subscribe. Till next time. Hey, Judd Picks.